बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जनवल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन हे यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन हे यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोदश डिवाइन ग्रेस अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी जगत गुरु श्री प्रभुपाद की जय अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नमचल श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवत पुराण की जय गौर प्रेमानंदी all gross assembled devotees all gross assembled devotees all gross assembled devotees all glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Iti इति व्यवाच्छिद्य स पाण्डव्यः प्रयोपवेशां प्रति विष्णुपद्यम् ददौ मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रिम् अनन्यभावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संगः इति विवाच्छिद्य स पाण्डव्यः प्रयोपवेशां प्रति विष्णुपद्यम् ददौ मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रिम् अनन्यभावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संगः इति व्यावच्छिद्य स पाण्डव्यः प्रयेपवेशां प्रति विष्णुपद्याम् ददौ मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रिम् अनन्यभावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संगः प्रवेशां प्रति विष्णुपद्याम् भावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संगः इति विवाच्छिद्य स पाण्डवेयः प्रवेपयेषां प्रति विष्णुपद्याम् ददौ मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रिम् अनन्यभावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संग. Ladies, इति विवाच्छिद्य स पाण्डवेयः प्रवेपयेषां प्रति विष्णुपद्याम् ददौ मुकुन्दाङ्घ्रिम् अनन्यभावो मुनिव्रतो मुक्त समस्त संग. इति thus Vyavachidya, having decided, Saha, the king, Pandaveyaha, worthy descendant of the Pandavas, Praya Apavesham, for fasting until death, Prati, toward Vishnu Padyam, on the bank of the Ganges, emanating from the lotus feet of Lord Vishnu. Dadau gave himself up, Mukunda Angrim, unto the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, Ananya, without deviation, Bhavaha, spirit, Munivrataha, with the vows of a sage, Mukta, liberated from Samasta, all kinds of Sangaha, association. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Thus the king, the worthy descendant of the Pandavas, decided once and for all and sat on the Ganges bank to fast until death, and gave himself up to the lotus feet of Lord Krishna, who alone is able to award liberation. So, freeing himself from all kinds of association and attachments, he accepted the vows of a sage. Purport. The water of the Ganges sanctifies all the three worlds, including the gods and the demigods, because it emanates from the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead, Vishnu. Lord Krishna is the fountainhead of the principle of Vishnu Tattva, and the first shelter of his lotus feet can deliver one from all sins, including an offense committed by a king into a Brahmana, Maharaj Parikshit therefore decided to meditate upon the lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna, who is Mukunda, or the giver of liberation of all description. The banks of the Ganges or the Yamuna, the bank of the Ganges or the Yamuna gave one a chance to remember the Lord continuously. Maharaj Parikshit freed himself from all sorts of material association and meditated upon the lotus feet of Lord Krishna. And that is the way of liberation. To be free from all material association means to cease completely from committing all further sins. To meditate upon the lotus feet of the Lord means to become free from the effects of all previous sins. The conditions of the material world are so made that one has to commit sins willingly or unwillingly. The best example is Maharaj Parikshit himself, who was a recognized sinless pious king, but he also became a victim of an offense, even though he was ever unwilling to commit such a mistake. He was also cursed because he was a great devotee of the Lord, even such reverses of life became favorable. The principle is that one should not willingly commit any sin in this life and should constantly remember the lotus feet of the Lord without deviation. Only in such a mood will the Lord help the devotee make regular progress towards the path of liberation and thus attain the lotus feet of the Lord. Even if there are accidental sins committed by the devotee, the Lord saves the surrendered soul from all sins, as confirmed in all scriptures. Swapada mulam bhajataha priyasya tyaktani abhavasya hari pareshah vikrama yat chopatitam kathanchit dhunoti sarvam ridhi sanivishtaha. Bhagavatam 11.5.42. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Sri Guruve Namaha. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Utapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Tam Savadhutam Parijana Shahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Sri Vishakhan Vitamscha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deenabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurvani Pracharani Nirvisheshwarnivadi Paschatya Deshatarani. So this is a very familiar episode for all students of Srimad Bhagavatam. And the episode of Maharaj Parikshit being sentenced to death. And you can see the purport is so beautiful and so elaborate and so revealing. Prabhupada is revealing so many secrets of spiritual life in his heartfelt purports. It is worthy of noting that the two most important scriptures in our life, Srimad Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, what is the context in which they were spoken? The Gita was spoken during the, in a situation of crisis. And Bhagavatam was spoken at the time of death. So these are the two most fearful things of our life. Right? What do we fear in our life? We fear crisis, unforeseen crisis. Right? And we all definitely fear death. Right? So during the time when there is such a critical moment of your life, as exemplified in the life of Arjuna, who is faced with massive crisis, not a small crisis, crisis which shook him to the core, right? Having to shoot arrows, even he was totally capable of doing them towards people whom he loved more than his own life, right? Now, how would he shoot an arrow at his grandfather, who loved him and he loved both loved each other so much? So for him to even imagine that I have to shoot my cousin brother's dead, or to shoot my grandfather, try to kill him. I don't. The Purohit for the Pandavas was Maharaj was Kripacharya, and Dhaumya Rishi. The Raj Purohits for the Pandavas, Guru dynasty. I have to shoot arrows towards him, right, and try to even kill him, defeat him, right? So we can imagine that is such a that was absolutely, he was in a state of complete denial, right? On the other hand, here we have Maharaj Parikshit, who was equally in a state of massive crisis, right? Similar to Arjuna, that here he is going to face unforeseen, premature, unprecedented death, not from a fight. A Kshatriya has to fight and he's skilled in a war, he'll be happy to do that. But from a curse from a small boy, from a teenager boy. Imagine somebody playing on the road just saying, let the Prime Minister die. But they had power to do that. He cursed him. His curse was, cannot be denied. It's a Brahma Shap. So these are the two most feared aspects of our life. Crisis and death. And at that time, what did Arjuna do? He chose to surrender to Krishna. Yash shreyastam nisitam bruhit tanve shishyasteham sadi mam tvam prapannam. He knew that I have to surrender here. And what Parikshit Maharaj did, he knew there is no argument, there is no ifs and buts, there is nothing to think here and there. I need to surrender to Krishna's representative. Right? So either you surrender to Krishna, or even more easily you surrender to Krishna's representative. Here it is, Shukdev Goswami Maharaj. Srila Prabhupada explains that the predominant emotion of this material world is fear. Death and crisis is exaggerated fear, but in general, even at normal times, what we call as normal times, there is always some amount of constant fear. Right? There is never a time when we are not fearful. You can, all of us can attest to that particular fact, right? Fear of losing loved ones, fear of our life, fear of our health, fear of our wealth, right? The Bhagavatam attests that padam padam yad vipadam. And literally it is true. Yesterday we were talking to our doctor friends in the evening. Literally you put a leg in a contaminated water pond or in a contaminated water in the month of monsoon. Literally that leg, if it falls in a contaminated water, you can get a deadly disease called as leptospirosis, which can be killing you. We lost one patient, just before I came here. We lost one very young lady who came to hospital and died in 36 hours from leptospirosis. Right? So literally this world is a fearful place. And all these insurance companies, right? How many insurance companies are there in the world? There are so many insurance companies. Right? General insurance, health insurance, car insurance, house insurance, fire insurance, earthquake insurance, this insurance, nail insurance, hair insurance. All the models, they insure their legs, hands, and they insure everything. Anyway, so how does insurance people thrive? And the biggest money earners in the world are the insurance companies. And what is the way they get their premium made from the prospective customers? अगर आपको कुछ हो गया तो, this is their one line. अगर आपको कुछ हो गया तो, means if something happens to you, then this insurance company is there. So if you die, no problem. Your mother, your father, your house, your family will get 1 crore, 10 crores, right? So they only sell the product based on the element of fear, right? Fear. So yes, we are living in constant fear. Ahar, Nidra, Bhaya. Of the four, Maithunam cha, of all the four, the Bhaya element is extremely prominent in this world. And what is important for us to learn is how does Maharaj Parikshit respond, to react and to respond. They're supposed to be two different things, right? You react, it's called a knee-jerk reaction. You hit that knee jerk and then the leg just goes, pop, goes like this, right? It's called a knee-jerk reaction. And something is called as respond, where it is reflected responses. That means you do chayan, and then you respond. So if somebody if the doctor spells out that, my dear sir, I have done your so many scans and so many reports I have done, you seem to be having a relapse of your previous cancer and it is advanced stage 4. You can try chemotherapy, you can try this, you can try that, but you may not have more than a few months to live in this world. Right? So let us for some time put ourselves in Maharaj Parikshit's shoes. Right? How would we respond if we were told that we had only 7 days to live? Because sometimes we think of it as Parikshit, he was told and he said, he did this, he did that. But the stories and pastimes are there to make it relevant to us. Prabhupada is so merciful to us that he made us do this, what Parikshit Maharaj did for 7 days. Nityam, whenever we die, we have read Bhagavatam. We have sat on the bank of Ganga is here, Ganga, and we have heard Bhagavatam, so it's all right, it's perfectly all right. So, what he did, and therefore, the important lesson, why these stories are there in the Bhagavatam, is how do we respond? We learn from our predecessor Vaishnavas. Because we will always react. We will react. Something happens, we have immediately some reaction, which is what is called the conditioned response. Our brains are tuned into what is called as responding in a very conditioned manner. Somebody says something to you, said, hey, you shut up, get out. Right? Somebody something to you, immediately you respond and said, get out, or you insult him, you humiliate him. So we are trained to respond in tarko pratishto chutayo vibhinno nasavyasa munir matam na bhinnam dharmasa tattvam nihitam guhayam majanoena katasa pantha. Tarko pratishto. When you have this crisis, the tarka will not work. Shruteyo vibhinno. There are so many shrutis are there. They will say this, somebody says shruti this, somebody says that, right? So, and every muni will have a different opinion. Like, during Prabhupada's time, Prabhupada did something extraordinary. He would sit with Shamsundar Prabhu, and he would say, Shamsundar Prabhu was very learned in philosophies. So, Prabhupada did this. He had a purpose behind doing this. So he said, Prabhupada, Socrates says this and this, right? So then he said, Prabhupada, what do you think about Carl Jung? He says, what is his philosophy? So he would present his philosophy. Prabhupada would respond through your Vaishnava response. What do you think about Sigmund Freud? Right? What do you think about Plato? Right? So there are all these various famous philosophers of the West. And Prabhupada would give his opinion. Because all these munis, they're all munis. They are all English speaking from Europe, some from English. They were all like Munis. They all had different opinions. So somebody had opinion, and the next Muni came and he refuted that and gave his understanding, right? But they are all incomplete because they are all in the category of mental speculators. So Prabhupada would see through the speculation, see the fault, and then tear it apart and give the wise to understand. That all came out in a book which we rarely read because we don't have so much need in that in our country. It's called Dialectic Spiritualism. The book that I have seen the book, I read it, but I couldn't understand it. That is spiritualism, right? So every Muni has matamna bhinnam. Mat will be very bhinna, very different. So dharmasya tattva nihitam guhayam. The actual principles of bhakti are very, very difficult to understand. Guhayam, guhya. Guhya means very confidential, very secretive. So then, Arey Baba, if I can't understand through scripture, I can understand from the Munis, I can understand by logic, I can understand, in so many ways, then how am I going to understand the purpose of my life? If all these things are no, neti, no, they're not this, not, then what is the last line says? Mahajanoyena, only one process stands out remarkably powerful. You simply follow the example of the great souls. Bas. So here Maharaj Parikshit is that Mahajan, and he is teaching mercifully, by Krishna's grace, how to face death. How to face death. Somebody said very beautifully, it's very nice. He said, every person must do these four things in life. He should always forget two things. He should always remember two things. Nacha, what is that? So if you do this four things, then your life will be very perfect. So what are two things you to forget? If you have done any good to somebody, out of your own goodness of your heart, some act of kindness you have shown. After doing that, what should you do? Forget it. Why should you forget that? Because you do not know whether he will reciprocate or not. But once you do good, you expect he or she will reciprocate, right? But often in this world, you do acts of goodness, they remain unreciprocated. And you feel, kya fayda hua? What do you use? You feel disappointed, you may even feel frustrated, you may feel even angry with that person, right? So if you're doing something good, do it. It's going to go up. Yes, you're right. So you do that, and then what do? You forget it. I did what I felt was good at that time, out of my affection, kindness, whatever. Other thing you should always forget is, if somebody speaks harm to you, insults you, humiliates you, right? You carry it with you. He said this and she said that. He did this and he said that. So it is not easy, but this is what the great souls advise. The experienced people who are wise advise. If you carry it with you all the time, it's like, they say, it's like carrying a burning coal in your heart or in your hand. If somebody throws a burning coal at you and you catch it, what you should do, if you keep catching that, what happens? It burns your own hand. The coal is live, burning, and someone hurled it at you. You hold it like this. It burns your hand. What should you do? You throw it. Throw it. Save yourself. Throw it. Right? So somebody hurled some vile words at us. Best is to pray to Krishna to forget. So two things we should always forget. And two things we should always remember. What is that? Satatam smartavya Vishnu. Right? Always remember Krishna. Correct? And always remember death. Always remember death. And why is this wisdom shared with people? On the spiritual frontier, Krishna is a supreme reality. There is no reality beyond Krishna. He is Vastava Vastu. The supreme reality is Krishna. material frontier, death is the supreme reality. These two are the absolute realities of existence. On spiritual side, Krishna is a reality. On the material side, this reality. Nobody can escape death, right? So the question we have to ask ourselves is what makes Maharaj Parikshit respond in this special manner? If I were to get this verdict of death, how would I respond? I'd respond with confusion, bewilderment, anger, Brahmit Avastha. I will not be able to respond properly. Is not, you know that. Suddenly you start thinking, oh yeah, I have to have it 7 days or in a few weeks, few months. You will be completely, you will practically paralyzed to even think properly. You are thinking, I didn't make my will. I have to make my will. I have so much, I've carried so much in my life. I have to, start making, call the lawyer. Call the, hey, this car goes here, this flat goes here, this goes to this person, that was, and the gold is there, here, it goes here, and so much. And this person will not give anything because he behaved in a very awkward way. So you prepare a will. You do so many things for winding up your life. How did Maharaj Parikshit do? He made no will, nothing. He just put his son Janmajaya on the throne and went to the bank of the Ganges. Prabhupada says, Jiva Goswami says, he went to the bank of the Jamuna. Why? Because Hastinapur, where he was ruling from, is on the bank of the Jamuna. So Jiva Goswami argues that it is bank of the Jamuna. But then Prabhupada says both are fine. Anyway, wherever he went and sat there and heard from Shukdev Goswami. So our question is, what mindset should we have which prepares us for death? But when it comes, is uncertain. So it is simultaneously certain and uncertain. And that makes it very mystifying and makes it very fearful. We will die, we are for sure, because we are born. Right? But when you will die, therefore, devotee, how do we create the proper mindset? Mindsets create mindsets create so Krishna consciousness, right? So for us, while we are doing our practices externally of chanting, of reading, of serving, archana vidhi, fasting, everything, simultaneously those external acts of devotion, simultaneously internally we have to work on the proper attitudes, because Krishna actually is not just looking externally but is also watching closely what is your attitude in doing that thing. So we have to be sort of clear in Krishna's eyes on both the fronts. Externally doing the right thing, and I'll be doing it with the right attitude. So both are, we have to have a clean slate on both of these both of these frontiers. So what is the attitude? Talking about uncertainty of death, there is a nice story about, yesterday we were talking about Maharaj Katwanga, right? Very important story. Prabhupada gives a lot of weightage to that story. In the ninth canto, Maharaj Katwanga was a very, very, very pious king, very much devoted to Brahmanical culture, very chivalrous, very pious, really the well-wishing friend of all his praja. Raja is like the father to the praja, Raja Praja, right? And being so devoted to Krishna and so devoted as a welfare, uh, working for the welfare of well-wishing friend of all his praja, he was very dear to everybody, even very dear to demigods also. So he's glorified in the ninth canto like that. And details of his story are given in the Vishnu Purana. Much details are given in the Vishnu Purana. So he was asked to come by the demigods. He was summoned by the demigods to help them in a sangram against the asuras. They're very powerful. So those are times when even kings of earth were matching in their valor with demigod valor. We can imagine. Huh? Demigods are so powerful, but earthly kings were so powerful, that they were summoned. Please come and help us. So of course, being a servant of the Lord, he went and he fought. And because of his presence, the demigods emerged victorious. They were so happy. So happy. He said, we bless you. We bless you. Ask for any boon. Ask for any boon you want. Now what he asked is remarkable. Right? Now if Indra asks you, ask for a boon, what will you say? Indra is the Lord of, is Devendra, the Lord of all the heavens. Right? And his life and his opulence can't compare to even the best of places in the material world. Now, Hawaii Islands, Honolulu, wherever, San Francisco, Beverly Park, wherever you go in this world, also called high-fi places, they are like Jhopatpatti in compared to the heavenly planets. They're nothing. Because we don't have any imagination, so we are, kya jagah hai, very nice. Tourists will come, thousands of them. Demigods don't care less about this. So opulent. So if he asks you something, what will you say? What he asked is very significant. He said, please tell me how much time I have to live in this world. Powerful request. Tell me how much time I have to live in this world. Said, sir, you only have one muhurta to live in this world. One muhurta. Whack! One muhurta. He just left that place and came to Earth planet. Because you cannot be in the heavenly planets. It's Bhog Yoni, and Swargaloka is meant for good times, comfort, luxury, opulence, right? Enjoyment, Bhog Vilas, right? If you have one Murta, you are a decent Bhog Vilas, right? You don't want to enjoy it till the last second of your life. It's descended immediately to the Earth planet, right? Earth planet is supposed to be the perfect place for exit from the material world. That is Bhog Yoni, that is Dukha Yoni, and on Earth planet there is a balance. Therefore it is said that on Earth is the most important place for Jivatmas who are interested in self-realization. So we don't realize this. We may think I would be better off in the Svargaloka, but no, we are much more blessed to be, because it is easy to get out from here. Therefore, demigods come here to get out from here. They don't go out from there. So very rarely a Jivatma will escape material existence from the Swarga Lokas. They will want to escape from this cycle of birth and death from the Earth planet. So he came here and he fixed his mind in Samadhi, chanted the holy names of Sri Krishna, and in deep absorption left this world, entered the planet of Vaikuntha. Ante Narayana Smriti. Right? So that he could do because he was so vigilant. He asked the right question, he got the right responses, and he did the right thing. He was prepared for death. Srila Prabhupada, one of his favorite verses, whereby he instructs us to get the right mindset and attitude to prepare for death. Very important words for practicing devotees. This comes from the pages of the poetry of Maharaj Kuleshekhara. Krishna tvadiya padapankaja panjarantam yaddeva me misatu manasarajaham prayana prayana samaye kapavata pitter kantavarodhana vidhau smaranam kutaste. Right? So this great Vaishnava king, illustrious in the Sri Sampradaya, is praying. He's an 8th century great Mahatma Vaishnava. He's praying that, my dear Lord, Krishna Tvadiya Pada Pangaja. Right? So here also in this particular verse, we are seeing the same mood. Right? It says here, Dadao Mukunda Angrim Ananya Bhavo. The mood, whether what is being exemplified in the life of Maharaj Parikshit, is the same mood which is being exemplified by Maharaj Kulashekara. Mukunda Angrim. I said, my dear Lord, now I am young. This is applicable to all of us. Now, we are young and most of us will say, well, the probability that I will die is not so high. Because, I'm in my 20s and 30s now. Right? And some of us who might be a little older may think, yeah, I can die anytime. But, well, even though what you say is true, but the probability-wise, mathematical probability, unlikely to die. And if I get some infection, I can fight it out because my immunity is good. And that's one thing, right? But he's explaining to us that when I'm young, let the swan of my mind enter into the stem of your lotus feet. Just like a swan puts his malleable neck, your swans have long necks. The malleable neck, it goes and it enters into the stem of the lotus, right? The lotus, as we know, it doesn't grow on land. How could you put your neck in the roots? It grows only in water, right? And it is what is called biologically as a fibrous root system. And therefore the neck can go through the fibers of the roots, right? And then said, let me put my neck there. And sometimes the neck of the swan can get stuck in that fibrous root system while it is sucking the nectar there. So let it happen to me. Why? Because I'm young now, I can do that. I can fix my mind on your lotus feet. Because prana prayana samaye, at the time of death, what will happen? It's a very painful experience. To the extent we are attached to this world, attached to our families, attached to our bodies, to the same proportionate extent, it will be painful when we leave this arena. The pain, it may be describing that there are so many scorpions. However, it is directly proportional to the amount of attachment, right? If you have a rental flat and you have 11 months agreement live-in license, right? After 11 months, you just walk out of the house and said, okay, my license, my LL is over now, so I take the next rental flat or maybe extended, whatever. But if somebody drags you out of your house, it's your ownership house, right? You are living there for last, and somebody just drags you out forcibly. How will we respond? We'll kick, we'll resist, we'll fight. Don't take me out from here. This is my house. Simply when the soul has lived in this house of his body for 40, 50, 60 years, when he is dragged out, he doesn't walk out. A devotee can walk out, but the non-devotee will have to be dragged out. To that extent, it is going to be very, very painful, very painful. And even as devotees, unless we have really become truly, as is said in his words, detached, ananya bhavo, we will be having a painful experience, right? So then, how do we really go about this then? When I'm young, I will try myself to practice Krishna consciousness in such a way, and Krishna assures that if you have led a life of this quality, at the time of death, I will help you. I will help you. So what does it mean in practical sense? How does it do it bring it down to practical day-to-day practice? What Maharaj Kulashekar is saying, that now let me mind be attached to you. What does it really practically mean? How do we have attachment to Krishna on a practical day-to-day basis? Like Krishna says in the Gita, right? Maya sakta mana partha yogam yunjam madashrayah asamsayam samagram mam yatha gnasasi tat shrunum. So, what is being asked for us is to create asakti. Maya asakta. Right? The process of Krishna consciousness works on two tracks. On one track, we create detachment from sense gratification. Other track, we create attachment to Krishna. This is the two tracks we have to work on. The story is there of Bhaktivedanta Saraswati Thakur, that even though you are rowing the boat very hard, right? But if you not remove the anchor, the boat will not go forward. You know the story, right? So for us, so that story is given by the Acharya to make us understand that the process of moving across the river from this shore to the shore of deathlessness is dependent on two processes. Rowing it very hard, very laboriously. We were talking yesterday about that in some way, like Mother Yashoda, just rowing it, right? Other hand, also you have to remove with all your strength and might, remove the anchor. Because if you are not removing the anchor, all your movement going forward will become ineffective. So remove the anchor with all your might and then move forward. Right? That means creating an environment where we do not become more attached to the things of this world. And similarly, Maya Sakta, become more and more attached to Krishna. So this is again depicted, again we have a role model for that. The Bhagavatam is full of such role models in plenty. So the role model for this Maya Sakta is the great devotee Maharaj Ambarish. Again, we take cognizance of the ninth canto. Right? Maharaj Ambarish just past time. So beautiful. So he showed in a very tangible, realistic and practical way how to become attached to Krishna. Right? And all of us are quite familiar with that sloka. What is that? Savai manaha Krishna padaravindayor vachamsi vaikuntha gunanuvarnane. Right? And so how he engaged, this is the very practical application of this tattva of asakti. We may understand this words of asakti, but then we have to understand what is the parallel corresponding activity which creates that asakti in my mind. Prabhupada says sometimes, in the Bhagavatam, he said that if you just see the deity every day, you become attached to the deity. See, what you see every day, you will get attached to. You're seeing your house every day. Because you're living in a house. What happens to you? You see your wife and children every day. What happens to them? You get attached to your wife and children. You go to your office every day and do a lot of business, right? Earn money from that. What happens to that? First to office, but the office is the source of money. So whatever you do every day, you will become attached to. But what if we see the deity every day? Right? And that's why in tradition of our country, it has been a practice that people actually visit temples every day. Morning time is, they will do their sadhana and their japa and go and take bath in the Ganga or whatever, do some pothi, read some nice Ramayana or something, and they'll go and visit the temple. Offer some flowers, some tulsi, some chandan, right? And spend some time, 10 minutes there, do one round of japa, whatever, and then go away. It's not a matter of meeting, spending a lot of time because they do all the household chores, right? But they will spend some time every day in the temple. Therefore, the ISKCON in the model, which is now doing very well, when we see around is that, we were in Bangalore and other places we see in Kolkata, right? That the temple of ISKCON is there and devotees are started staying in the vicinity. That is a perfect model for Maya Sakta. Because that every day, whether you come for Mangalarti or not, but you will hopefully come every day because you're so close. We don't have reason not to come. I'm staying very far. Once in a week I come, once in a month, once in a week I come. But if you're staying close, you will feel drawn. You will feel like, let me see the Lord at least once. Maybe in the morning, maybe in the evening, maybe sometime. Let me join, offer my respect to the Lord and, offer my prayers and like that, right? So staying close is a very great advantage. And therefore, the center of the world is Krishna. and all the covered boys are staying next to him and around him in the Jamuna. Similarly, all the devotees are now started staying in the worlds of lotuses with Krishna in the center, Gauranga Mahaprabhu in the center, Nityananda in the center. So, the first thing he did was to attach his mind. Savai Mannaha. The mind is the most important element for creating asakti. The mind is the king of all the senses. It governs the 5 karmendriyas. It governs the 5 gnanendriyas. It is the governing king of all our physical and psychological. All our psychophysical activities of our life are governed by the mind. How powerful is the mind? It governs all our physical and psychological activities of life. And the mind is the uncrowned king of those activities. And therefore, since the mind is so flickering and so vulnerable to getting attached to the wrong things, we attach the mind first to Krishna. And therefore, when we come to the temple of the Lord, we first focus the mind on the lotus feet of the deity. Mukunda Angrim. We do not see the Lord's, it is not Mukharavindam, but Charanaravindam. First Charanaravindam, and then slowly you start raising your vision and seeing the Lord's knees and his beautiful thighs, his navel, his beautiful Vakshasthala, his arms holding the flute or arms raised in love, and then see his Mukharavindam, his garlands, his turban, right? So it is a meditative process. It is not just seeing. We don't come to temple. In one sense, Prabhupada says, we don't come to the temple to see the Lord. We come to temple to be seen by the Lord. Oh, this particular dasi of mine, they have come. They come every day. I like to see them every day. Wonderful. And Krishna may even miss us sometimes. We don't come for a while. He can say, hey, this das has not come for a long time. Right? Krishna is waiting as Panduranga for his deities, for his devotees to come. He stands, hey, aaya nahi, bahut din se aaya nahi. Right? So, Savai Manaha Krishna Padarvindaya. With the eyes, he would see have darshan. The ears, he would hear the Lord. This mouth, he would chant the glories of the Lord. Right? With his hands, imagine a king like Maharaj Ambarish. The Bhagavatam says that he had incomparable, inexhaustible wealth. The 2 words used in the translation. Incomparable, inexhaustible wealth. For a moment, let us think about this. Right? Now, whatever wealth we have, we are talking about attachment to our house and family and office and all. Whatever wealth we have, whatever houses we live in, 2 BHK, 3 BHK, okay, 4 BHK, okay, row house, okay, duplex, right? Okay, a big bungalow, okay, a villa. You can't go beyond that. Maximum is that's the limit of, villa means it's almost like a mini palace. But he was the king of the planet Earth. And Sridhar Goswami would not even dare to talk about his wealth. Incomparable and inexhaustible wealth. That is a king, right? And somebody in Hyderabad, Nizam of Hyderabad, right? How much wealth? He was at one time the richest man in the world. A king of a small place called Hyderabad. And he was like the richest man. He had the Hope Diamond. He was using his paperweights. And when he left the country, he had 2 aeroplanes full of wealth. Because there was political upheaval in our country, so he had to fly away from the country. So he built 2 big, giant aeroplanes. Maybe they were his own planes. And he left the country, went to UK. Right? This is talking about a story of a person who was Nizam of Hyderabad. Hyderabad. Small little king. King Parikshit had so much more. He was king of the entire world. We cannot even imagine. How is it that he did not become attached to all that? Parikshit, Ambarish had so much wealth, right? because his mind was fixed in. So by fixing our minds on Krishna, gradually this asakti with Krishna increases and asakti for the material world decreases. Hmm? Yes, no, what does it say? Vasudeva Bhagavati Akinchana. No, not what that. Huh? Huh? Janati Asu Vairagyam. What are the words? First line. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Projita Janati Asu Vairagyam Jnanam Chayat Ahetukam. By becoming attached to Krishna, two things happen. You have knowledge as well as detachment. These are the two powerful results of becoming attached to Krishna. Automatically, why? Because Krishna is so attractive. No longer your family and your money and your house will attract you. Of course, that doesn't mean that you should leave the family. I'm not attracted anymore. It doesn't mean that. It means we have to continue our duties in this world, prescribed duties, become attached to Krishna. Right? And Prabhupada says in that particular purport, and in the translation itself, that this is the way when he was his hands, he would clean the temple, with his body, he would embrace the devotees of the Lord. Everything he did. So, this formula of Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam was perfectly exemplified by Maharshi Ambarish. And he became attached to Krishna. Attached to Krishna. And finally, when we become attached to Krishna, we get Krishna's anugraha. And then the heart feels that I belong not to this world. I do not belong to this country, this religion, this caste, this family, this profession. I belong to Krishna. That dawns in the horizon of our heart. I belong to Krishna. I don't belong to the material cosmos. I belong only to Krishna. Sakrit prapannoyam. The Ramayana says, once a devotee feels like this, and he says, Tavasmi iti yachate. Tavasmi. That word, the Kri word in this Ramayana sloka is Tava Asmi. Beautiful word. Tavasmi. I am, just three words. Tavasmi means three words. I am yours. I am yours. Once this dawns in our heart, that I am not this. I am yours. Right? Once this particular mood grips our consciousness, that I belong to Krishna. I am yours. Right? When that happens, then what does Krishna do when he Abhayam Sarvada Tasmai? What does he bless you with? Remember, we began our talk today by talking about fear. Right? We talked about fear in the beginning. Right? That the material world means constant fear, constant stress. And fear is created by what? Uncertainty. It's not everything here is. The weather is uncertain. The political things are uncertain. Jobs are uncertain. Right? Health is uncertain. Everything. So uncertainty creates fear. Right? The basis of fear is uncertainty. Nothing is certain. I say hoga. Nahi, never know. Something can go wrong. So we begin our life in the condition in the material world with fear, and then we come to this journey where we come to the other side where he said, when you understand Tavasmi, I am yours, then Krishna covers you up with Abhayam Sarvada. So our journey is from fearfulness to fearlessness. From fearfulness to fearlessness is the journey of our life. Right? And once you get that anugraha of fearlessness, then you cannot anymore contain that anugraha in your heart. You cannot contain, your heart gets flooded. You cannot, what do you do with it then? You will definitely start sharing that. You cannot hold that anugraha, that joy, that ecstasy, that happiness, the bliss, the full sense of fulfillment is so overwhelming to the consciousness, right? That you cannot contain it anymore. Huh? And all that you can do is just simply go out and give it to others. And that is why when the Kurma Brahman, when the Lord goes to Kurma Brahman's house in South India, Gaurang Mahaprabhu, he instructs the Brahman in this way. What does he say? Yare dekho, tare kaho, Krishna upadesh, amaragya, guru hoya, taro idesh. That words we all know. But what we may not know is what he said after that. He says, if you do this, if you stay in your house and do as we have discussed today in our class today, right? As we do, then you share that grace with others. Then Mahaprabhu says what? Pabe mora sangha. The Lord says what? Pabe mora sangha. If this is the quality of our life, if this is the essence of our life, through all our duties we perform, offices, taking care of children, we should do. We should do it responsibly. We should do all this because it is part of our prescribed duty. But while we are doing that, if we have a qualitative change where we live the life as we have discussed today, then Mahaprabhu assures us, at the end of your life, you will get my association. Get my association. Right? And what is higher than getting Mahaprabhu's association? Nityananda Prabhu's association. Pundrik Vidyanidhi's association. Mukunda Sarkar's association. Narari Sarkar's association. What is higher than getting the Six Goswamis association? This is the goal of life. Right? So, let us orchestrate our lives with this understanding. Let us remain focused. Let us remain always focused on, as we said yesterday, the essence. This is the essence of our life. So yesterday we discussed about the essence. Today we discuss more about how to practice that essence. How to make that essence as a constant theme of our life. Our theme of life does not change with changing weather and changing political situation, changing number of people. Our theme of life remains constant. Maya Sakta. We want to become attached to Krishna. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Yeah, any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, you are mentioning in the class that whatever we do every day, we become attached to that. And then on the other hand, we hear that familiarity breeds contempt. So, how to conduct our life in a way that rather than breeding the contempt, it should it should lead to the attachment.
Familiar brings contempt is the opposite side of attachment only. Contempt and attachment, they are both sides of the same coin. So you're not getting any better by. So either way, we are still in a state of being attached only. Now, talking about the familiarity with devotees, which should be our constant companions, unless we hear the glories of the Lord, the glories of Bhagavan, Bhakti and Bhakta, right? Unless we keep our consciousness infused with the heightened understanding and awareness of the glory of the Lord, glory of the Lord's devotees and the process of Bhakti, we may start taking all of these things for granted and become familiar. You may take the deities for granted and become familiar with them. Right? You may take the devotees for granted, you may take even Bhakti for granted and become familiar with them. Therefore, bathing our consciousness regularly with ever newer understanding from the Bhagavatam speakers, from the reading of the books, right? Who will infuse our consciousness with ever heightened understanding and awareness that we don't take, because the work of Maya, she is very smart, she is very, very tricky, very clever, right? She will make you do all the acts of bhakti, but make you feel these are all very ordinary. If you do the activities of bhakti, but do it with that attitude of being, this is all ordinary, this is all regular, right? What happens is that our consciousness has been diluted off, correct? So unless we do it with a deeper sense of conviction, rather than doing it with a state of being in a diluted state of consciousness, the essential results will not be reached. So we do the acts of devotional services, but we also do it with a heightened awareness of the glory, the privilege, right, and the blessing upon us to be able to do these things, so that they do not become ordinary activities for us. Right, Prabhu? Thank you. Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you for the wonderful class. Prabhuji, you gave lot of examples from Bhagavatam, like Atvanga Rishi, we see, and Amrish Maharaj, Parikshit Maharaj. So all these personalities, they were facing death, and they were fearless. But and how were they able to prepare? So you gave an example of being prepared, right? They were focused on Krishna. But as a practicing devotee, we don't know. I mean, we are still fearful about these kind of situations when are coming. And if somebody says, okay, you have such kind of time tomorrow, we don't know how we are going to act.
Correct.
We will feel, okay, we have so many responsibility. I'm not purified enough.
I'm not ready.
I'm not ready. Yes. So, Prabhuji, what kind of symptoms or indications one devotee can experience in his life when that person will face that fearlessness during the end moment?
It's an organic process, right? It's an organic process, but at least we should be reassured that this is a perfect process. So we are not doubting the legitimacy and the outcome of the process. It's a legitimate process, and it's a short process. Whether I'm able to do it properly or not is my side. The two sides, process side and the practitioner side. Process is perfect, results are assured, right? If you keep on paying premium every year, 50,000 rupees, at the end of 15 years, some assured, right? LIC, they say, right? Some assured. Then you get some bonus also. I think it's a bonus. It's a bonus. That bonus is what the company just gives, right? The bonus. So we are assured that if we keep on giving the premium of our consciousness on a regular basis, on a daily basis to Krishna, it is assured. So it is true that we are not prepared for this level of commitment to Krishna consciousness. But hopefully we are developing faith. What is required is our faith, right? And Krishna says very much in the Gita that I preserve what you have, but I will carry what you lack. So suppose we get a death sentence suddenly. You ask for ourselves, hey Baba, I'm going to die in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. A deadly problem, right? I'm not prepared. Then what is Krishna's side? If we have been sincere, and that's the key reply to your question, that if we have been genuinely sincere, Krishna will help. It is not our doing, which is in itself complete. We discussed yesterday, right, about this, that you do your share, Krishna does his share. So we have seen in our society, ISKCON society, on the practical level, I have seen so many departing Vaishnavas. Being a doctor, I have seen many people have died in front of me, in the hospital, because they thought that the best place to be is Bhakti in the hospital. And then I was attending them as a physician, and 3 months, 6 months they were there, and They left their bodies. So can I say that they were all prepared for death? Some of them were, some of them may not have been. Right? But Krishna sends his devotees who will surround you with their affection, with their love, with their guidance, with their encouragement, with their inspiration. Right? And like a loving family, assist you in your final journey. We may not be prepared, but we will need a lot of help from our loving community. That is why the community place comes into picture. When so I have tomorrow I have a problem, right? I maybe I don't have money, or maybe something, my house burns and something happens and some catastrophe. Devotees will say Prabhu ji ka ghar jal gaya, chori ho gaya, now he is on the roads. They will do something. They will not say karma, Prabhu ji आपका कर्मा ऐसे था, क्या करेगा अभी जो है आपको ऐसे ही होना था तो हो गया, अभी आप chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Devotees are not so hard-headed at all. मेरे भक्त का, मेरे दोस्त का, मेरे गुरु भाई का ऐसा हो गया, गड़बड़ हो गया, कैसे भी करके बैग बोरो स्टील नहीं करेंगे, बैग बोरो करेंगे, and they will see that he is somehow rehabilitated to some convenient place. Won't they do that? Right? You can expect that much, that tomorrow if something happens to us like that, these people who are sitting today around us, they will rally around us and say, don't worry, we are with you. And who are they? They are Krishna Jana. They are Krishna's Jana, or they also call as Vishnu Jana. Right? So, our help at death, whether we are prepared or non-prepared, we heavily depend on our fellow devotees. Right? So, what you can do, you do. Whatever I can do, I do. Whatever everyone can do, you do to the best of your capacity. बाकी सब क्या कर सकते हैं? Krishna. So these devotees will come around us and help us. Don't worry, we are with you, and encourage you, inspire you, and put you through the process. And that is very powerful. That is Krishna's reciprocation for the little things which we have done for him. He just showers us with mercy coming through his loving devotees. That brings a smile on your face that time. So now you're relieved. Relieved, right? Okay. Should we end? It's 9:30.
Anybody has any other question?
Bye. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Gaur Nitai ki
Jai.
Shri Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki
Jai.
Gaur Premanandi.
Hare Hare Bol. His Grace Dwarkadhish Prabhu ki jai. Hare Krishna. So Dwarkadhish Prabhu ji 11:30 बजे यूनिवर्ल्ड कम्युनिटी हॉल में प्रोग्राम देंगे. So all are welcome.